thing is clear. History isn't written by the headlines. It's written by what's said when the cameras are running and the oath has been sworn. That's the record. And now it belongs to you, the public, to judge. Now let's get to a more impactful topic directly from the judges above. And this is where the powers that be tell you how you're going to live your life and enjoy it. Let's turn now to the Supreme Court decision that just quietly rewrote a part of how Americans can or can't seek justice when the government harms them. In a 5-4 ruling, the United States Supreme Court has held that you cannot sue the United States Postal Service for damages even when mail is intentionally not delivered. This came down in the case United States Postal Service versus Conan. Now, on its face, that sounds like it might just be about lost checks or junk mail that never showed up. But the implications go deeper than that. At the heart of this decision is a legal doctrine called sovereign immunity. The idea that the federal government can't be sued unless it has specifically waived its immunity. That principle dates back to foundational Supreme Court cases like Schillinger versus the United States, which held that the United States can't be sued in federal court without consent. Under a federal law called the Federal Tort Claims Act, the government does waive that immunity in some situations, allowing people to sue the United States for certain harms caused by the government employees. But there's a carve-out known as the postal exception. The government retains its immunity for claims arising out of loss, miscarriage, or negligent transmission of mail. In this case, a Texas landlord named Labine Conan sued after postal workers allegedly refused to deliver her mail and her tenants' mail for roughly 2 years. Conduct, she said, included racial prejudice and resulted in financial harm. She tried to recover damages under the FTCA, arguing that intentional non-delivery went beyond mere loss or miscarriage. But the Supreme Court majority, in an opinion authored by Justice Clarence Thomas and joined by Chief Justice Roberts, Justice Alito, Kavanaugh, and Barrett, said that loss and miscarriage in the statute include intentional non-delivery. They looked at how those terms were used when the law was passed in 1946 and concluded that Congress didn't limit the postal exception only to accidents or negligence. To the majority, that means the Postal Service enjoys sovereign immunity even when employees intentionally withhold mail. In the majority's view, broad immunity here prevents floods of lawsuits tied to everyday postal issues, preserving the stability of the mail system and limiting costly litigation. On the other side of the aisle, Justice Sotomayor, joined by Justice Kagan, Gorsuch, and Jackson in the dissent, strongly disagreed. They argued that the statute's exception was meant to cover negligent loss or delayed delivery, not intentional misconduct. To them, saying that withholding mail on purpose is the same as losing it accidentally, which stretches the law well beyond how Congress intended it. The dissent warns this interpretation shields intentional wrongdoing from accountability. So legally speaking, the court didn't say the Postal Service can't be held reasonable or internally or ethically, held responsible internally or ethically. It said under current law, you can't sue them in federal court for money damages over intentionally undelivered mail. That immunity applies even if harm is deliberate, even if it results in lost income, missed medicine, or other serious consequences. This was a close decision, 5-4 split, right down the middle, showing how sharply divided the justices are over how to interpret sovereign immunity and the reach of its existing statutes. It highlights a fundamental tension in American law. Do we interpret government immunity broadly to protect public functions or narrowly to protect individual rights when the government causes harm? Because at a time when mail still matters for ballots, legal notices, checks, prescriptions, and documents that have real consequences in people's lives, this decision means one thing clearly. If your mail isn't delivered, even intentionally, your only remedies lie outside suing the Postal Service itself. And in an age where trust in institution is already strained, that's a ruling with real weight for everyday Americans. On its surface, Will, what do you think before I kind of develop that a little further?
I mean, no, I love it when the Postal Service is outside the law jurisdiction. I think that's amazing.
Especially when the Postal Service has become such an utter failure. Like, we at the court have just internalized that it is an unreliable resource. However, it holds very real ramifications with service. So now people are going to, it becomes more costly. You got to do certified service or certificate of service, right, or certified mailing, certificate of service. You do these different variations. It costs more, and they still aren't having a higher success rate of delivery. I mean, at that point, these people that, let's say it's you're doing an eviction, like that's not that person's first eviction. And so they know what they're looking for, and they'll make sure you never get service. They're never answering the door for that postal service. And now you can't get delivery or service. Now you can't go forward with your hearing. So it's causing all these complications and knots. Ricky, what do you think?
I got a question. So what if they're not delivering my mail for 3 months and I got selected for jury duty? Can I go to the judge and be like, hey, I ain't show up because I ain't get it, or I'm going to be issued like a warrant or something, a bench warrant?
Well, and here's what I'll say. Like, our court, you're not really going to get a warrant, but, at a certain point, we were getting really desperate as COVID let up, getting people to show up for jury. So a thing you could do, it was never implemented, but a thing that could be done is sending bailiffs to the juror's house and being like, it's time to go. You're coming. Okay. Yes, you could be under contempt. Yes, but it's a bad political look. Judges try to avoid it. You're often not going to see it, but a higher court, you definitely will. So like if you get called down to the county or you've got like federal court, I'd show up. It's not worth risking it.
You can't show up if you didn't get your mail that the federal government said it's not their fault.
Circling back to your point, I want you to see how severe this decision is. When it gets, what they decided is if it gets lost and you have real damages, so you don't get your medication and because of diabetes, you lose your foot, or, a judge puts you in jail for 2 days because you didn't show up for jury, you didn't get your notice. That's a damage that literally you go to law school, you could take a damages course, and the whole course is based on like, if a guy dies, this is how much the courts have kind of valued a human life at. If you lose a finger, this is kind of what a finger is valued at. If you had emotional distress, this is what that's valued at. And damages is literally a course that kind of scripts out how case law has valued all of these types of things. So there is a damage value to losing my foot because I didn't get my diabetes medication. There is a damage value to me sitting in a jail for 2 days. What this Supreme Court decision said is, no matter what happens to you, I mean, it really sucks if a judge doesn't show mercy and take into account the mitigating factors that were outside of your control. You definitely can't collect on damages with us. And judges also have immunity, so you're also not getting anything from them.
Wow.
So you're at this point where they just created a situation where the government can intentionally, before it was accidentally, like, oh, shit, did we lose your jury notice? Sorry, you sat in jail for 2 days. Can't sue me. Now it's, I want to get Ricky in trouble, and I crumple it up and throw it away. You still can't sue me. Ha, ha. Ha, ha.
That is just effed all around.
Yeah. You know what's crazy? As I was getting prepared for today's episode, it took me back to Kavanaugh's hearing when he was being sworn in and the Democrats were against his swearing in. That was definitely a political play. I mean, they had a psychological professor and psychological expert from, I think, Harvard or Yale come in, and like that's where they were berating each other. You know, she's saying it happened to me when I was 60. It was all a giant psyop. And at the time, I bought into it. Because it was such an absurd hearing. I just thought this guy was getting such a terrible shake. It was unfair. However, now with everything boiled down, I wish I knew at that time that Kavanaugh was the attorney that or the judge that assisted in the Patriot Act, which again is literally why what's this face in Russia? I can't even think of it right now. Our buddy who's
Snowden.
Snowden. The fact that Snowden is banished from our country because he sounded the whistle on something Kavanaugh brought into our country.
Wasn't this brought up?
Well, I know, dude.
I know.
Because that's how you know it's all a political charade. Those Democrats don't have your interest in heart either. It's all fingers of the same hand. So the frustrating part is I got really ticked off with South Park because they sided with the lady when they made a satirical draw, like that. You know, and now it is like, yeah, no, this guy is Mr. Hanky. He is literally a turd. That guy is poop. And I'm shocked that I got offended and I never turned on South Park again. I was so done with South Park. And today I'm getting ready for the show and I'm like, once again, those two assholes got it right again. Like every time they're right. No matter how much, it's like at that time, my lens was mucked up and I couldn't see that like Kavanaugh really is a turd. Like that guy is Mr. Hanky. And that is the nicest way to put it. I mean, the dude's so much worse than that. So it's just shot. Like now we're here. And this is the guy again, now with foresight, you know, hindsight's 2020. It's like now, you know, this is one of the most evil judges and he's there for life. For life. So yeah, when we start pulling apart the layers of these ramifications, it's in his historical track record and he just keeps replaying it in every decision he can.
After people, no matter what, like the Patriot Act and the Postal Service. Come on, Dave, bro. What a way to write your name in history.
Well, one last piece I want to bring up before we conclude the topic here. I was curious, can you sue the individual government worker personally? Because it's like, okay, you know, my brain goes, well, maybe there's still some individual sovereignty. You know, the whole theory and philosophy of our country is that we're fighting for the individual republics of people. I got to imagine this doesn't completely shut that out. So maybe I can't sue the government, but I should be able to sue that one negligent or, intentional bad actor at the Postal Service. Short answer, usually no. And it's very difficult. Here's why. Under the Federal Employees Liability Reform and Tort Compensation Act, often called the Westfall Act, if a federal employee was acting within the scope of their employment, the federal government is substituted as the defendant and you can't sue them. So once that happens, sovereign immunity rules apply. And if the FTCA exception blocks the claim, the case is dismissed. So you generally cannot bypass immunity by suing the postal worker personally if they were acting within their official duties. There are limited exceptions. If the employee acted outside the scope of employment, you may attempt a personal lawsuit, but courts interpret scope very broadly. If the conduct violated a clearly established constitutional right, a plaintiff might attempt what's known as a Bivens claim. However, the Supreme Court has dramatically narrowed Bivens action in recent years, and courts are reluctant to extend them into new areas, especially postal operations. So practically speaking, If a postal worker intentionally withholds mail while performing their job, the individual employee is usually shielded just like the agency. That's what makes the immunity doctrine so powerful. It doesn't just protect the institution, it often protects the individual acting within it. So, yeah, cooked in every angle you try to cut it.
Yeah, bro, because like you can sue the city, you can sue the police department, you can sue the freaking officer if he doesn't have qualified immunity. Like that's a whole nother thing. But like, if you pissed off your postal person, and then it's like, fuck you, we ain't come back here. Your dog pissed them off once, bro. They can't get fired, but like legal, like there's no other ramifications other than you complaining to the postal office and hope they take action.
You're so right. Will, what do you think?
You better be greeting your postal worker outside every day going, hey,
Bro.
man, it's so good to see you today.
Bro, you better have
Never
water
happier
out
to see
there,
you.
dog. You better have water and little crackers and biscuits out there for your dogs now.
Leave him a little milk and cookies, leave him a little treat
Santa,
every day.
please bring me presents. I've been
You
a
know,
good boy this year.
Start talking a little crap about your neighbor.
Yo, that's the
Just start talking about you don't know what the neighbor says about you.
There's good
Yeah, you
people.
don't, man. Jerry down the road, he's not a
Yo,
fan, dude.
There's bad
I love
apples
it.
in every environment, bro. And people that just do malicious crap just to do it, just to test their power. Bro, there's gonna be so much crap that come out of this.
I think
And
you're
it's
right.
I can't wait for that one first person to just hear about this and be like, Birdman rub his hand and like, let's see how far we can go.
And you just nailed it. What made me realize how right you are is the reminder of, like, I think it was the 80s, 90s at the latest, but I think it was the 80s when the term going postal became like socially relevant. It's like, these are the people that are snapping their psyche. The narrative was that it was folks that were snapping their psyche from doing the same mundane job. And, right. People are going crazy doing this job. It's like, add that element, add now today, no offense to these folks. I hope my postal worker isn't watching so he doesn't intentionally damage my mail. But these aren't the highest rung of performing members of our society. And so add on to it that it's a job that snaps your psyche. These are not the most sophisticated members and might have their own internal issues, which, what do I mean by that? That's the highest likelihood of somebody that's going to get petty. Like Ricky just said, this is just a tiny little bit of power they have in their life. And the person that they can't stand, they're just going to be like, every time they get their mail, just like, I hate you, Susan. You slept with my boyfriend in 12th grade.
So it's still a federal crime to open someone's mail.
Say that again?
It's still a federal crime to open someone's mail. But what if you're the mail person?
Here,
on the
you know
job?
what? I didn't open it. I just peed on it. It stayed totally intact.
Can't prove it.
It's just soaked now.
It's just so.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Or just literally, I gave it to Pennywise. I just put it in the gutter.
It's gonna be
Wah, wah.
so much shit come from this, bro. It's crazy.
They're gonna call it the U.S.
amazed.
Postal Wars.
Like
Add
they didn't
it
even
to the list.
like
If
they
we're not
could have like
juggling enough.
shaved it down a little bit to like it has to be like an extreme circumstance where you can do this or that. Like there gotta be some type of check. Like this is just balanced
Dude, think
all
about
their
that.
way. Like
A
my-
landlord and a tenant were both having their mail intentionally lost. And the government was like, yeah, we don't care. Yeah, we don't care.
That sounds like a new
Years.
problem.
Yeah. Maybe next time, don't piss off Suzanne. We put a lot of faith in Suzanne. She shows up to work every day. And we're going to let her throw your mail away if she wants. That's so crazy. Any other rapping thoughts, or I'm going to close it out here?
That's it, bro. That's wild. Though.
Yeah. We hit all the golden points.
We
of this.
hit it all.
We hit it all.
In the United States Postal Service v. Conan, the court didn't say intentional misconduct is good. Didn't say refusing to deliver mail is acceptable. What it said in a 5-4 split is that Congress wrote sovereign immunity broadly enough that the Postal Service cannot be sued for money damages when mail is lost, miscarried, or not delivered, even intentionally. And that takes us to the core principle at issue. sovereign immunity. Sovereign immunity is the doctrine that the government cannot be sued unless it explicitly consents to be sued. The Federal Tort Claims Act partially waives that immunity, but it also includes carve-outs. The majority held that this postal carve-out is broad, and unless Congress narrows it, the courts won't. The majority framed it as a matter of statutory interpretation and institutional stability, preventing a flood of litigation against a massive federal system that processes billions of pieces of mail annually. The dissent framed it as a matter of accountability, arguing that intentional wrongdoing should not hide behind language meant for negligence. I could not agree more. And that tension is bigger than the Postal Service. It's about where the line sits between protecting government operations and protecting individual citizens when harmed by those operations. The court essentially said, if you want this changed, talk to Congress, because in their view, it's not the judiciary's job to rewrite the waiver, essentially knowing that nothing gets done in Congress. And that leaves Americans with a reality that feels uncomfortable to many. When the government harms you in certain ways, your remedy may not be in a courtroom. It may be political. It may be administrative, but it's not financial damages under this statute. That's not a partisan statement. That's a structural design of sovereign immunity as court interpreted. And whether you see that as necessary guardrails or dangerous insulation, it's now the law of the land.